Welcome to Gamin' Grains, the whiskey gaming channel. I'm your player one, Richard, and I've been on a bit of a Jack Daniels kick lately. I have two bottles that I've been sitting on for quite some time now that I'm going to open with you today. That is the Jack Daniels 10-year batch number 4 and Jack Daniels 12-year batch number 3. So grab your controllers, pour yourself a dram, and let's get into it. As always, before we give ourselves a pour, we need to unpack these bottles. Both the Jack Daniels 10-year and 12-year were distilled, aged, and bottled at Jack Daniels Distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee. They both have the same mash bill as Jack Daniels Old No. 7 Tennessee Whiskey, which is 80% corn, 12% malted barley, and 8% rye. Besides the obvious age statement difference, the 10-year has a proof point of 97 proof and a suggested MSRP of $85, whereas the 12-year has a 107 proof point and a suggested MSRP of $95. I was first introduced to Jack Daniels 10-year and 12-year last year at a family event. My brother-in-law, Nick, who's been a huge supporter of this channel since day one, was generous enough to allow my wife and I to sample the previously released batches. Needless to say, we were both blown away, and I immediately went on the hunt to try to find myself a bottle. Unfortunately, every one of those that I came across was marked well above secondary pricing. Thankfully, not long after, Jack Daniels announced the next releases of their batches 10 and 12, along with Jack Daniels 14-year batch number 1. As you can see, I was able to secure myself a bottle of the 10 and 12-year. However, that 14-year has eluded me. So if any of you want to send me a sample of the 14-year, I would greatly appreciate it. Just hit me up in the comments below. Now, when my wife and I sampled the last batches, we tended to gravitate more towards the 10-year. I'm not sure exactly what it was about the 10 over the 12. It could have been the lower proof point. That seemed to be more appealing to us, a little bit easier to drink, a little bit smoother. But both of these bottles are brand new. Right before I turned on the camera, I peeled off the wrappers, so nothing has been poured out of these. Now we're going to do the normal whiskey thing where I'm going to give you my tasting notes. With them being older, I'm not going to talk to you about the appearance. I'm just going to pour them, give you the nose, tasting notes, and finish, and then let you know what I paid for them and would I buy them again. So was it worthy of purchase, or should I left them sitting on the shelf? So we're going to go ahead and give these guys a pour. Not necessarily the best cork pop, but that's all right. As I kind of mentioned just a minute ago, that 14 has eluded me. As soon as it hit the market, it was immediately grabbed by everybody. And then those that seem to really know, those liquor stores that seem to kind of know what they had, they immediately jacked up their price. So there wasn't really a way for me to secure a 14-year without having to spend an arm and a leg. So all right, we're going to start off with a 10-year. Again, 97 proof, 10 years, MSRP of around $85. We're going to swirl it around in the glass, get it on the nose. So with this being a fresh crack, you get a little bit of that ethanol that has been sitting in the bottle for a while. But immediately behind that, you get those traditional Old No. 7 notes. I am picking up that kind of banana-y flavor that is there. That kind of slight nutty flavor or scent to it. Let's see how that compares to the 12-year. I'm going to do a little side-by-side tasting with them. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the appearance, but the 12-year does have just the slightest bit darker, ambery, caramel color to it. So on the 12-year on the nose, honestly, not too much different. There seems to be a little bit more of that ethanol, alcohol scent to it, but I mean, I guess with it being the similar mash or same mash bill, just aged a little bit longer. The nose to me seems to be the same. Again, you're getting some of that traditional Jack Daniel's nose that you would come accustomed to. It is a little bit sweeter on the nose. But I am getting a lot of that like banana bread notes seem to be very forward and prominent in the nose. So again, that's the 10 year. Let's get back in on the 12 year for the nose. This one's I feel like a little bit sweeter. One more time. So this one's not as harsh, again, with the ethanol alcohol scent. Again, as you're watching this, please know that I'm not an expert. I'm just the guy that likes whiskey. So if you were to have the 10 or 12 year, things that you're probably picking up are going to be very different than from mine. I'm not expertly trained. Again, just a guy who likes whiskey. That kind of, there's a sugary, almost like an icing note. I could be wrong. That's there. Again, that's the 10 year. Here's the 12. Yeah, I'm honestly on the nose. They are very similar to me. So we're gonna go and get in on the taste and see if maybe there's a slight difference between the two. Again, last time I had the previous batch, which I believe is 3 for the 10 year. That one I tend to favor over the 12 year. So cheers, 10 year. Okay, I mean that just tastes like a stronger Jack Daniel's Old Number 7 Tennessee whiskey. All the things that you would come to know from Jack Daniel's. I'm almost getting peanut butter on that with like the slightest hint of banana. It does coat the tongue, but with it being a lower proof, like that just seems to dissipate. But that's really, really good. So we're going to go get in on the 12 year. On the taste, and I'll let you know what I think. Cheers. Okay, so definitely getting, if you were to think about like the shell of maybe a peanut or some sort of other nut, whether that's like a pecan, that's what I'm getting first, which I'm sure is some of the barrel influence. But then it leads right into that peanut butter, banana nut, or a banana nut bread flavor again that you would get with that Old Number 7 Jack Daniel's. So I'm going to go back in on the taste again and just kind of let you know what I think. I will say, as I'm talking, this one, those kind of wood influenced flavors are still a little bit there as the banana flavor has gone. That seems to be lingering on my tongue a little bit more. So we're going to go back in on the 10 year. Again, I'll tell you the tasting notes and then the finish. So cheers again. Yeah. Again, this is what you would come to expect out of Jack Daniel's. It is richer and more complex by just a little bit. It does seem to sit on the tongue a little bit more compared to what you would get out of your just traditional Old Number 7. But that's exactly what that tastes like to me. It does sit on the tongue a little bit more, but then, of course, it just dissipates. It's almost non-existent there. I am getting a little bit more of that wood flavor that I was describing, but that could have been from the 12 year that I had tried. So we're going to go back in on the 12, one more taste, one more finish, and then I'll let you know my thoughts overall, which one is better. So cheers again. All right, so as I described before, I'm getting kind of like again, I don't know how to describe it. It reminds me like if you were to if you've ever had a pecan, and sometimes you eat like the meat of the pecan, but sometimes there's like some of the shell that's in there, or maybe like a peanut. You get that first, which again, I would imagine is probably the barrel influence. And then as that starts to go away, you're getting those notes again that you get with that traditional Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. So that banana nut bread, the peanut buttery flavor. It does linger a little bit longer, so that finish does sit on my tongue about mid palate. It's still there, and it's just slowly starting to dissipate. So, all right, out of the two, which one do I prefer? I would honestly say, just like last time when my brother-in-law Nick was kind enough to let me sample his previous batches, I'm leaning more towards the 10. I don't necessarily care for that barrel influence that I'm getting from the 12. It's not bad, but again, when I go head to head between the two, I tend to favor the 10-year just a little bit more than the 12-year. Both are great products. If I could find them at MSRP, which again, this is $85.99, this is $95.99, I would definitely buy them again. Unfortunately, I did pay a little bit more. I got this one. I'm sad to say I think I paid like $125. $150 for this one, which is the 10-year. And then my brother-in-law, Nick, again, great guy. Shout out to Nick. I'm sure you're probably watching this. Thank you so much for just helping me and for encouraging me to get into this channel. But he helped me secure this one for about the same price as what I paid for this guy. So, all right, guys. Again, if I could find either one of these at MSRP, I would definitely buy them. I would pay a little bit more, not too much more than what I had originally paid for them. I'd probably pay about $100 for this one again if I could find it, $125, about $150 for the 12-year as well. So, all right. Thank you very much for sticking with me to the end. I certainly appreciate you watching and hanging out with me. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. That definitely helps with me growing the channel. I would like to try to get to about 75 to 100 subscribers within the end of the year. I know that's a big ask with this being almost October when this video comes out, but I definitely certainly think that we can do that. Be sure that you hit the like button, and then down in the comments, have you had any of these limited release Jack Daniels? If so, what batch is your favorite? Do you tend to prefer the younger over the older? Were you able to secure a 14? And again, if you have a 14 that you're willing to maybe share a sample, a little 2-ounce pour with your favorite player one Richard, leave that information down in the comments below, or you can hit me up at gameandgrains@gmail.com or gameandgrains on Instagram. All right, guys, thank you again so much for sticking to the end. I'm your favorite player one Richard. Have a good one.